Na mtazamaji, tutuia radhi kwa changamoto hiyo ya kimitambo. Swala la uhifadhi na utunzaji mazingira lilitawala hotuba za viongozi mbalimbali wakati wa kongamano la 3 la majaji wakuu kuhusiana na upanzi wa miti katika idara ya mahakama. Mkutano ambao uliandaliwa na idara ya mahakama ya Kenya umehudhuriwa na viongozi mbalimbali wa mahakama kutoka kote ulimwenguni kujadili nafasi ya idara hiyo katika ustawishaji wa jamii. Rais William Ruto pia alihudhuria kongamano hilo.
In Africa, we have our common peculiarities, which must be taken into account in order for justice that we dispense to be truly transformative. Internationally, institutions such as the IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the Conference of Parties, better known as COP, were set up to deal with climate change by facilitating development in areas of scientific and other research. Although not all African regional law and sub-regional law explicitly regulates climate change, we do have several African agreements which do speak pertinently to the climate change phenomenon. As far back as 2002, the Constitutive Act of the African Union expressed as one of its objectives the organization and promotion of sustainable development. So did the new Partnership for Africa, otherwise known as NEPAD, in highlighting the environment as one of 6 sectoral priorities. Its natural resources program was intended to play the important skills enhancement that is necessary for adaptation mitigation, technology improvement, and finance in order to combat climate change.
In addressing the intersecting and global environmental crisis that is the environmental degradation, biodiversity loss, and climate change. Judiciaries have an important role to play in strengthening the domestic, regional, and global legal framework. And so those of us from the judiciary are here to learn, to green our judicial minds so that our jurisprudence on the environment is sufficiently greened so as to tackle climate change and other effects on the environment. Our approach must be collaborative and our solutions contextual yet integrated. Hence the reason why Africa is present in Nairobi, Kenya. Colleagues, I look forward to learn.
We as African judiciaries, we have already agreed on a pathway to forge a corrective front in the fight against climate change. As we gather here in Nairobi, I am happy to share with you that the Kenyan judiciary is committed to serving as the hub for African judiciaries dialogue. We need to talk to each other as Africans. You have heard that we are bearing a bigger burden of the effect of the climate change. This is enough to bring us together. And for us in the Kenyan judiciary, we view hosting regional judiciaries dialogues also as a means of fostering the development of African jurisprudence that is responsive to the unique concerns and aspirations of our continent. It is our vision to create a robust and dynamic platform for knowledge exchange, for our capacity building, and collaboration among African judiciaries.
To be here to witness Africa's judicial leadership as you mobilize your judicial authority, intellectual power, and moral commitment to intervene in our generation's defining struggle. I am highly encouraged to note the depth of thought in your appreciation of the existential magnitude of climate change and of the imperative for urgent action by all stakeholders anchored on common institutional coordination. Although climate change is a universal existential threat, there is good reason for Africa's institutions and leadership to drive the agenda of mitigating its effects and eliminating the human activity that is driving it. The first reason is the fact that Africa is by far the least polluting continent, yet it is by far the most adversely affected by climate change. The entirety of industrial and economic activity from all of the continent's economies contributes less than 5% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. These emissions are the cause of a steady and dangerous rise in global temperatures, which have resulted in the extinction of plants and animal species, rise in sea levels, disruptions in climate patterns, drought, and desertification. The brunt of these adverse effects and impacts has been borne by vulnerable African populations residing in less developed parts of the world. Droughts are more frequent and more severe. Our region has undergone a 5-season-long drought, which has decimated domestic and wild animal populations, wiped out food crops, disrupting and threatening the lives of millions of people. Water stress caused by climate change has been devastating, both directly and as a driver of conflict over water and pastures. Poverty has been exacerbated by loss of livestock, which forms the mainstay of pastoralist economic livelihoods, and massive crop failure, which weakened the foundations of farming economies. In addition to drought, African populations are experiencing floods, heat waves, and outbreak of climate change-related diseases. African livelihood, security, and development is in danger and will remain at stake unless we collectively wage aggressive combat to reverse the situation through policies and other institutional action to implement mitigation, enhance adaptation, and build resilience.
Na mtazamaji, tukienda